In the world of professional football, legends are made on the field, but sometimes the most shocking plays happen far from the stadium lights. On July 4th, 2009, a 911 call shattered the quiet of a Nashville neighborhood. Inside a downtown condo, police found a scene that would rock the sports world to its core. Steve McNair, the NFL quarterback known as McNair, lay motionless on the couch. 4 bullets had silenced the heart of a football icon. Beside him, a young woman named Kazemi, her life extinguished by a single shot. Was this a tragic murder-suicide fueled by jealousy and despair? Or did someone else pull the trigger, ending the life of one of the toughest players to ever grace the gridiron? Today, we dive deep into the perplexing case of Steve McNair's death. We'll unravel the web of relationships, financial troubles, and unanswered questions that continue to haunt this story more than a decade later. I'm Keith Baxter, and this is Dead End's True Crime Mysteries. Buckle up as we explore the rise, fall, and violent end of an NFL legend. The murder of Steve McNair, a tragic end to an NFL legend. In the world of professional football, few names resonated with as much respect and admiration as Steve McNair. A legendary quarterback known for his grit, leadership, and unparalleled toughness on the field, McNair's life was tragically cut short in a shocking murder that sent ripples through the sports world and beyond. This is the story of Steve McNair's rise to fame, his untimely demise, and the questions that continue to linger more than a decade after his death. The rise of an NFL legend. Steve McNair's journey to NFL stardom began in the small town of Mount Olive, Mississippi. Born on February 14, 1973, McNair showed exceptional athletic prowess from a young age. His talents would eventually lead him to Alcorn State University, where he became one of the most prolific quarterbacks in college football history. With this in mind, let's trace McNair's path to NFL stardom. 1. 1991 to 1994. McNair plays college football at Alcorn State, setting numerous records and finishing third in Heisman Trophy voting in his senior year. 2,995. The Houston Oilers, later to become the Tennessee Titans, select McNair as the 3rd overall pick in the NFL Draft. 3. 1999. McNair leads the Titans to Super Bowl 34, falling just 1 yard short of a game-tying touchdown as time expired. 4. 2003, McNair is named co-MVP of the NFL alongside Peyton Manning. 5. 2006 to 2007, after 11 seasons with the Titans, McNair finishes his career with the Baltimore Ravens. 6. 2008. McNair retires from the NFL after 13 seasons. Throughout his career, McNair earned the nickname McNair for his ability to make plays both through the air and on the ground. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler and widely respected for his toughness, often playing through significant injuries. The final days. As we delve into the events leading up to McNair's death, it's crucial to balance factual reporting with storytelling techniques to keep the audience riveted. https www.ingramspark.com blog top true crime writing tips for aspiring authors. The story takes a dark turn in the summer of 2009, just a year after McNair's retirement from the NFL. On July 4, 2009, Nashville police received a call about a shooting at a condominium complex. Upon arrival, they discovered a scene that would shock the nation. Steve McNair, 36, was found dead on the couch, shot multiple times. Beside him lay the body of 20-year-old Sahel Kazemi, dead from a single gunshot wound to the head. The immediate question on everyone's mind was, what happened? How did one of the NFL's most respected players end up in such a tragic situation? Unraveling the mystery. To understand the events that led to that fateful day, we need to take a step back and examine McNair's personal life in the months leading up to his death. Despite being married to Michelle McNair since 1997 and having 4 children, Steve had begun an extramarital relationship with Kazemi. The young woman, who had moved to the United States from Iran as a child, worked as a waitress at a Nashville restaurant where she met McNair. Their relationship, while initially kept secret, had become increasingly public in the weeks before the murder. McNair had even purchased a Cadillac Escalade for Kazemi, a fact that would later become significant in the investigation. Choosing a gripping case with unexpected twists is crucial for creating a compelling narrative. https://www.daquara.com. Do you have any tips for creating a compelling narrative in a true crime podcast? The McNair case certainly fits this description, as the events leading up to July 4th were fraught with tension and foreshadowing. Just 2 days before the murders, on July 2nd, 2009, Kazemi was arrested for driving under the influence, while behind the wheel of the Escalade McNair had bought her. McNair was in the passenger seat but was allowed to leave the scene in a taxi. This incident would prove to be a crucial turning point, the day of the murder. As dawn broke on July 4th, 2009, neither Steve McNair nor Jenny Kazemi could have known it would be their last day alive. The events of that day, pieced together through witness statements and police reports, paint a picture of mounting tension and desperation. According to friends, Kazemi had been increasingly stressed about financial problems. She suspected McNair was seeing another woman and felt her relationship with the former NFL star was unraveling. In a fateful decision, Kazemi had recently purchased a 9mm handgun. On the morning of July 4th, McNair reportedly sent a text message to Kazemi saying he loved her and asking her to leave his condo key under the mat. Later that day, McNair's friend, Wayne Neely, arrived at the condo and made the grisly discovery. The police investigation that followed would uncover a series of events that led to this tragic outcome. The investigation. With this in mind, let's examine the key findings of the police investigation. 1. The crime scene. McNair was found on the couch, shot twice in the head and twice in the chest. Kazemi was on the floor near him, with a single gunshot wound to the right side of her head. The 9mm pistol was found underneath her body. 2. Ballistics. All 5 bullets were determined to have been fired from the same gun, the 9mm pistol found at the scene. 3. Gunshot residue. Traces were found on Kazemi's left hand, consistent with her being the shooter. Timeline. Security camera footage showed Kazemi's car arriving at the condo complex at 1:14 a.m. on July 4th. Neely discovered the bodies around 1 p.m. that same day. 5th motive. Text messages and statements from friends revealed Kazemi's mounting financial stress and suspicions of McNair's infidelity. Based on this evidence, the Nashville police concluded that Kazemi had shot McNair while he slept on the couch, before turning the gun on herself in a murder-suicide. Theories and controversies. Despite the official ruling, the case has been the subject of much speculation and several alternative theories. Some of these include: 1. The third-party theory. Some argue that the number of shots fired at McNair, 4, is inconsistent with a murder-suicide scenario. They suggest a third party may have been involved. The gun placement. The position of the gun under Kazemi's body has led some to question whether she could have placed it there after shooting herself. 3. McNair's other relationships. Given McNair's wealth and alleged multiple extramarital relationships, some have speculated about a potential targeted attack. 4. Financial motivations. With McNair's significant wealth, questions have been raised about potential financial motivations behind the murder. However, it's important to note that the police have maintained their conclusion of a murder-suicide, stating that there is no credible evidence to support these alternative theories. The aftermath. The murder of Steve McNair sent shockwaves through the NFL community and beyond. His family, friends, and fans were left to grapple with the sudden and violent end to a life that had inspired so many. McNair's legacy as a football player remains strong. He is remembered as one of the toughest quarterbacks in NFL history, a dynamic player who could make plays with both his arm and his legs. His leadership on the field and his contributions to the communities he played in left an indelible mark. However, the circumstances of his death have inevitably cast a shadow over his legacy. The revelation of his extramarital affair and the violent nature of his death have added a complex and tragic dimension to the memory of Steve McNair, the impact on those left behind. The ripple effects of McNair's death extended far beyond the immediate shock and grief. His wife, Michelle, and their 4 children were left to deal not only with the loss of a husband and father, but also with the public revelation of his infidelity. Michelle McNair has largely stayed out of the public eye since her husband's death, focusing on raising their children and preserving Steve's legacy through charitable work. The Steve McNair Foundation, which he established during his playing days, continues to provide opportunities for youth in underserved communities. On the other side, the family of Sahel Kazemi was left to grapple with their own loss and the public portrayal of their daughter as a murderer. They have maintained that Jenny was not capable of such an act, adding another layer of complexity to this tragic story. Lessons and reflections. The Steve McNair case serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the potentially devastating consequences of our choices. It raises important questions about fame, infidelity, and the pressures that come with life in the public eye. For many, McNair's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of leading a double life. It highlights the potential consequences of infidelity, not just for the individuals involved, but for their families and communities as well. The case also underscores the importance of mental health awareness and support. Kazemi's apparent distress in the days leading up to the murder-suicide points to the critical need for accessible mental health resources and support systems. The lingering questions. Despite the official closure of the case, questions continue to swirl around the deaths of Steve McNair and Jenny Kazemi. Some of these unanswered questions include: 1. Why did McNair, who was known for his leadership and decision-making on the field, put himself in such a compromising situation off the field? 2. Could more have been done to help Kazemi in the days leading up to the murder when she was showing signs of distress? 3. How did McNair's family cope with the public nature of his infidelity and death? 4. What impact has this case had on the way the NFL and other sports organizations address players' off-field behavior and mental health? These questions, while they may never be fully answered, continue to make the McNair case a topic of discussion and analysis years after the events took place. The legacy of Steve McNair. Despite the tragic circumstances of his death, Steve McNair's impact on football and the communities he served cannot be erased. His on-field achievements remain impressive: 3-time Pro Bowl selection, 2000, 2003, 2005. NFL co-MVP in 2003, led the Titans to Super Bowl 34, threw for 31,304 yards and 174 touchdowns in his career, rushed for 3,590 yards and 37 touchdowns. Beyond the statistics, McNair was known for his toughness and leadership. He frequently played through injuries that would have sidelined other players, earning the respect of teammates and opponents alike. Off the field, McNair was active in community service, particularly in his home state of Mississippi and in Nashville, where he spent the majority of his NFL career. His foundation worked to help disadvantaged youth, a legacy that continues today. A life and death that still resonate. The story of Steve McNair is one of triumph and tragedy, of athletic greatness and human fallibility. It serves as a reminder that even our heroes are human, capable of making mistakes with far-reaching consequences. More than a decade after his death, the case continues to fascinate and disturb in equal measure. It stands as a stark example of how quickly life can change, how the decisions we make can have unforeseen and devastating impacts. For fans of true crime and sports history alike, the McNair case offers a compelling narrative that goes beyond the typical boundaries of both genres. It's a story that reminds us of the complexity of human nature, the price of fame, and the enduring impact one life can have on so many others. As we reflect on the life and death of Steve McNair, we're left with a mix of admiration for his on-field achievements and sadness for the way his life ended. His story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of integrity, the need for mental health support, and the potential consequences of our actions. In the end, the legacy of Steve McNair is a complex one, filled with both inspiration and caution. It's a story that continues to resonate, challenging us to consider the full complexity of human nature and the often blurred lines between public personas and private lives. The broader context, athletes and off-field behavior. The tragic end of Steve McNair's life brings into focus a larger conversation about professional athletes, their personal lives, and the pressures they face both on and off the field. McNair's case is far from isolated. Throughout sports history, there have been numerous instances of athletes becoming embroiled in scandals or facing personal struggles that spill into the public domain. This pattern raises several important questions. 1. Do professional sports organizations have a responsibility to monitor or intervene in the personal lives of their players? 2. How does the intense public scrutiny that comes with athletic fame impact the mental health and decision-making of athletes? 3. Are there systemic issues within professional sports culture that contribute to off-field problems? The NFL, in particular, has faced criticism for its handling of player behavior and mental health issues. In the years since McNair's death, the league has implemented more comprehensive personal conduct policies and expanded its mental health resources. However, critics argue that more needs to be done to address the root causes of these issues. The role of media in true crime cases. The McNair case also provides an opportunity to examine the role of media in reporting on and shaping public perception of true crime events. In the immediate aftermath of the murder-suicide, media coverage was intense and often sensationalized. The story had all the elements that tend to capture public attention: a famous athlete, a secret affair, and a violent end. However, this type of coverage can have significant impacts. 1. It can cause additional pain for the families and friends of those involved. 2. It may inadvertently glorify or romanticize tragic events. 3. It can lead to the spread of misinformation or unsubstantiated theories. As consumers of true crime content, it's crucial to approach these stories with empathy and critical thinking. While the details of cases like McNair's can be fascinating, it's important to remember that real people's lives were irrevocably changed by these events. The psychological impact of murder-suicides. The McNair case also highlights the devastating impact of murder-suicides, not just on the immediate victims, but on their families, friends, and communities. These events often leave survivors with complex emotions, including grief, anger, confusion, and guilt. For the families of both McNair and Kazemi, the aftermath of the murder-suicide was particularly challenging. They had to navigate their personal grief while dealing with intense public scrutiny and the traumatic nature of their loved ones' deaths. This aspect of the case underscores the importance of mental health support and resources for those affected by violent crimes. It also highlights the need for increased awareness and prevention efforts around domestic violence and suicide. The intersection of race and media coverage. Another aspect of the McNair case worth exploring is how race may have influenced media coverage in public perception. As an African-American athlete in a high-profile relationship with a woman of Middle Eastern descent, McNair's story intersected with complex issues of race and stereotyping in America. Some observers have noted that media coverage of the case often relied on stereotypical portrayals, particularly in the depiction of Kazemi. This raises important questions about racial bias in true crime reporting and the responsibility of media outlets to provide balanced, nuanced coverage. Lessons for the future. The tragic story of Steve McNair offers several important lessons. 1. The importance of mental health support. Both for high-profile individuals like professional athletes and for the general public, accessible mental health resources are crucial. 2. The potential consequences of infidelity. McNair's story serves as a stark reminder of how extramarital affairs can lead to devastating outcomes. 3. The need for responsible media coverage. Sensationalized reporting can cause additional harm to those involved and mislead the public. 4. The complexity of human nature. Even admired public figures can have complicated private lives. It's important to resist the urge to idolize or demonize based on limited information. 5. The importance of domestic violence awareness and prevention. While the McNair case was ruled a murder-suicide, it highlights the potential for relationships to turn violent. Remembering Steve McNair. As we conclude our exploration of Steve McNair's life and death, it's important to remember the full scope of his legacy. He was a remarkable athlete who inspired many with his skill, toughness, and leadership on the field. He was also a generous community member who worked to create opportunities for underprivileged youth. At the same time, the circumstances of his death reveal a more complex individual, one who made choices that ultimately contributed to his tragic end. This duality serves as a powerful reminder of the complexity of human nature and the potential consequences of our actions. The story of Steve McNair continues to resonate more than a decade after his death. It serves as a cautionary tale, a source of ongoing mystery, and a catalyst for important conversations about fame, relationships, mental health, and the nature of true crime storytelling. As we reflect on this tragic case, may we approach it with empathy, critical thinking, and a commitment to learning from the past to create a better future. If you found this exploration of the Steve McNair case compelling and would like to see more content like this, please remember to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement helps us continue to bring you in-depth, thoughtful, true crime content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.